Hey folks, last night was Tell Us Something About the Other Contestants night on Season 9 of American Idol with the top 9 singing music from the Lennon-McCartney songbook. Not my favorite choice of themes in the world, but they did a lot better than I thought they were going to. Let's just hope that the producers don't go into overkill and decide to have the same theme next week like they did in Season 7. There was no mentor this week, but Sir Paul McCartney did take 15 seconds out of his busy tour schedule to record a video of encouragement for the top 9. And what a busy tour schedule it is. 10 shows within 3 months. Where does he find the time? Poor thing, it's a wonder he's not been hospitalized for exhaustion yet. I'm sure, though, Simon Fuller probably begged him to be a mentor, but why would he at this point, you know? For one, he doesn't need promotion. Just being Paul McCartney is enough promotion for anything. And as long as he doesn't get married again, he's not going to need the money. And then why, at this point in his career, risk embarrassing himself on what could be a disaster, especially in his waning years? So I think it was a smart move not to be a mentor. Anyway, the first performance was Aaron Kelly singing The Long and Winding Road. The other contestants call Aaron Yoda and reword everything that he says to sound like Yoda. Aaron said he doesn't know whether it's a compliment or they're just picking on him. Of course it's a compliment, Aaron. Isn't it always nice to be compared to a 900-year-old creature from a science fiction movie? That's like the best compliment you can get. Well, hey, it could be worse. There are worse things you can be called than Yoda. I thought it wasn't terrible. It was a little shaky in parts, but I thought it was kind of predictable. Another slow song for Aaron, which isn't always a bad thing, but in this case I think he might be in trouble because he didn't sing it that great, and it was just a boring song choice, very boring and predictable, and he was in the dreaded first spot of the night. So I think he's going to end up in the bottom 3, if not going home. Not to mention that it doesn't help Aaron shake the David Archuleta comparison, which I never really got anyway. And David Archuleta did sing this song in Season 7, and this paled in comparison to David Archuleta's version. But I never got the comparison anyway. They don't look alike, they don't sound alike, they don't act alike. The only thing is they're both young males. It's kind of like apples and meatloaf to me, they're just completely different. Randy thought it was sleepy. Ellen called it the long and winding song. Carol wants him to do something up-tempo. And Simon thought it was old-fashioned and boring. I thought it was funny when Aaron was talking, they kept telling him to use the microphone. I don't know why, I heard him just fine without the microphone. But I thought it was funny when Simon called him Sweetie. Next was Katie Stevens. She sang Let It Be. Katie has had 5 guys ask her to the prom, and she wants to see their phone bills, and whoever has voted for her the most times, she'll go to the prom with them. That's bribery, isn't it? In low-class land, we call that prostitution. Don't be surprised, Katie, if you get a phone call from Elliot Spitzer. I thought this was great, though. Katie keeps improving, and I thought this was her best performance yet. I thought she sounded great. There were a couple of little shouty spots that I could live without, but overall, I thought it was really good. I'm not sure if it was enough, though, to give her enough steam to get that much further in the competition, because I don't recall any of the winners ever having been in the bottom 3 this many times this early in the season, or actually anybody ever go on to have a successful career after doing this horribly so far. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with her. I think Katie, though, is in desperate need of a new stylist pronto. I said earlier in the season that she should dress more edgy to shake that pageant label, but I didn't mean edgy circa 1989 with that hot pink dress. Does anybody wear hot pink mini dresses anymore besides, well, prostitutes? Maybe that's what she was going for. I don't think the look fit the performance at all. I think this was the type of performance that she could have actually put on a nice, long, pretty dress and done her hair up and had instead of the weird leggings and the hot pink dress and the hair pulled back and the 10 tons of necklace. I thought she just looked ridiculous. Randy thought it was her best performance ever, and it was. Ellen said there is no way Katie will be in the bottom 3. I'm not quite sure about that, Ellen. Kara said you are blossoming and confident and you've never looked better. Wait, Kara likes what she's wearing? Kara likes her look? Well, that's really not that surprising. It does kind of look like something from out of the Kara Dioguardi line of hideous apparel. Simon thought she did well because she was leaning in the country direction that he had suggested. I don't know about that. Next was Andrew Garcia. He sang Paul McCartney's Can't Buy Me Love. That's not what Heather Mills said. Apparently there was a rather hefty price tag attached to her love. Let's hope he doesn't get married again. He might not be able to afford to buy somebody's love. According to the other contestants, Andrew was a clown behind the scenes, and he's always making them laugh. And he makes me laugh a lot too, but probably for different reasons than them. I thought this was the worst song choice of the night. There are some Beatles songs that are timeless, and you can listen to them now, and they're just as good as they were 45 years ago. This ain't one of them. This song sounds like it's straight out of 1966, and it still belongs there. I don't care who does it or what they do with it. It's just one of the most dated Beatles songs ever. Andrew performed behind the judges like Big Mike did last week, which I thought was all kind of silly and pointless. It was hard for me to take it seriously. Andrew had a pretty good week last week, and I guess that was just a fluke because this might finally be the week that he ends up in the bottom 3 or going home. And I kind of hope he goes home because it's just kind of the same straight up now tell me I'm a genie in a bottle and we're going down swinging through the grapevine kind of performance. Andrew's hair keeps getting taller though, doesn't it? Because I totally expect him, if he survives another week, to come out looking like Marge Simpson or Kramer from Seinfeld. Randy thought it was a solid performance, although it was corny at times. Ellen said, "You can buy love," and she thought it was a good song choice. Carol wanted to love it, but she wanted more. And Simon thought it was like a guitarist singing at a wedding. Next was Michael Lynche. He sang Eleanor Rigby, which he used to perform with his family, the Lynche Mob, when he was a kid. The other contestants think Mike is a big snoring teddy bear. Why are guys that are big always called teddy bears? Why don't you try walking up to a big woman and call her a teddy bear, see if you don't get punched in the mouth? I thought this was Mike's worst performance. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was horrible. I didn't think he really sounded good. I couldn't hardly understand what he was saying, and he didn't seem to hardly understand the song. It's like the performance was almost exactly the same as when he's singing a romantic song, and this is a gloomy song, not a romantic song. It's Eleanor Rigby dies before the end of the song, so I thought it was horrible. I hated it. Randy said he has a license to do whatever he wants and thinks that this could be on his album. What? Ellen thinks there may be some people that don't like it, and I'm one of them, but she loved it. Kara was crazy about it. She thought it was fire, and she thought that Mike made it commercial and relevant. Simon thought it was like a musical and too over the top. Randy said, "Hey, Glee is popular." Well, he's not auditioning for Glee. He's trying to become the next big pop star. And hey, Glee is a good show. Actually, I don't know if it's a good show. I've never watched it. It's a popular show, but it's not exactly being the next big pop star. Next was Crystal Bowersox. She's saying, "Come together. Crystal has a cold this week." It's somebody every week, isn't it? The others call her Mama Socks, and she's a motherly figure to them. Remember the last Mother Goose we had on the show, Melinda Doolittle? She was like everybody's mom. Let's hope Crystal Bowersox doesn't fizzle out during the week of the top 3 like Melinda Doolittle did. This is probably my This is probably my favorite Beatles song, although I like the Michael Jackson version better than the Beatles. And I thought this was Crystal's best performance yet. I loved it. I thought it was great. There were a couple of screams that I could have done without, but overall I thought it was great. They weren't like Siobhan excruciating screams. So it was pretty good. Perfect song choice for Crystal, though. I think at this point she'd have to mess up really bad not to be the winner this season. I'm not ready to call it for her, but I think she's well on her way. I thought she could have done without the didgeridoo, whatever it's called. I don't even know how to say that. That was a little distracting. It sounded like a sick elephant, or like a messed up foghorn. Were they having a contest last night to figure out who could get the most obscure instrument on the show? If so, Crystal wins, because I'd never heard of that thing before. Randy thought it was another solid performance. Ellen's only problem is coming up with new ways to tell Crystal how great she is. Kara thought it was slinky, sexy, and playful, and Simon thought it was terrific and could be on the radio. Next was Tim Urban. He sang "All My Lovin'." The other said Tim is always smiling and happy. I'd be always happy too if I looked like he did. He's so pretty. Andrew says he falls in love with every time Tim flips his hair and smiles at the same time. Forget it, Andrew. If Usher couldn't seduce him last week, you don't have any chance this week. Tim picked the song so he could smile while he sings. A pretty smart move because his smile is his best asset. I thought he sounded better this week than he did with that bug-eyed, creepy performance last week. But it seemed boring as hell to me. It felt like it dragged along for 10 minutes, and I just didn't like it at all. So it's kind of one of those so what songs like Andrew Garcia did. And it just felt old and pointless. Randy's going to start grading Tim on a curve, and he thought it was a good Tim performance. Ellen thought it was his second best after Hallelujah. Kara likes him best with his guitar and commended him for listening to their crap. And Simon thought he did really well and thought it sounded really current. I didn't think so. I think he's going to be in the bottom 3, perhaps going home, but he's got like 9 lives like a damn cat. So who knows how long he's going to be around. Next was Casey James. He sang Jealous Guy. Apparently Casey has a very loud and annoying laugh. And Andrew thinks that when Casey performs with his blonde hair, he looks like an angel. I'd swear if I didn't know better, I would think that Andrew Garcia is just as gay as I am. It was a nice, slow, acoustic performance from Casey this week. Isn't it funny, with the upbeat songs, he sounds like Huey Lewis. And with these nice, slow songs, he sounds like Eddie Vedder, kind of. Except not quite as great. It sounds like I just can't get past the and it's even more intense than a billy goat. It sounds like he's singing through a fan. That's how Casey James does when he sings. I don't know why they don't ever call him out on that. Randy thought it was heartfelt. Ellen thought it was his best performance to date. Kara thinks he should do even more still. And Simon thought it was the best of the night so far. Next was Siobhan Magnus. She sang Across the Universe. The other contestants think that Siobhan is weird. Well, isn't that stating the obvious? Katie said those notes she hits are ridiculous, and I couldn't agree more, but I don't mean it the same way Katie probably meant it. I think this is Siobhan's first performance that I actually liked. There wasn't any of that screeching or any of that over-the-top nonsense. Well, if you don't include the dress. She didn't overdo it. So I didn't like it as well as the Fiona Apple version of the song, which I love, but I thought she did a very nice, pretty version of it. I thought it was great. The judges were kind of bored with it, and it did almost feel like she was afraid to do much with it after that mess she had last week, so it kind of felt like she went from one extreme to the other, but I'd take this extreme any day over that screeching mess that she did last week. Randy thought it was a little sleepy, but he liked her tender side. Ellen thought it was beautiful, Kara thought it was restrained, polite, and not current, and Simon thought it was much better than last week, and it definitely was. And the last of the night was Lee Dewyze. He sang Hey Jude. Lee is the resident worrywart, and every week he fears that he's going home. I can't blame him for that. I would probably be the same way. I always tend to fear the worst about everything, but it's kind of a good thing because then things never turn out to be as bad as, I actually feared they would be, which I guess would be the case for Lee if he was actually eliminated. But he doesn't have anything to worry about right now because the judges' save is still in play, and they're not going to let him go home this early. So it's kind of silly for him to worry. Katie said that Lee and Andrew were like brothers, or dating. Another gay Andrew Garcia joke. It takes a very confident straight man to take all these gay jokes with stride. Crystal said that Andrew and Lee can get married and have lots of little Danny-Goki babies. That was hilarious. I think that's the funniest thing I've heard all season. And it's so true, isn't it? Wouldn't the two of them put together, make Danny-Goki? It was so hilarious. Sorry, Ellen Degeneres, but Crystal Bowersox gets the prize for Comedian of the Night. I didn't like the performance. It was back to pitchy Lee Dewyze that I didn't like, and he was doing so good, too, for the past couple of weeks, and I thought this performance was just a little too growly, even for Lee. It got ultra bizarre towards the end, though, when he got the crowd, said to the crowd, "Sing it with me." Well, it's your performance, not the crowd's. And then that weird bagpipe player came down the stairs in a kilt and one of those tall, fuzzy things on his head, looking like one of those soldiers from The Wizard of Oz. I thought that was strange. For a moment, I thought it was Andrew Garcia with his tall hair, but obviously it wasn't him. Like I said, it was like Lee and Crystal were competing to see who could get the most obscure instrument on the show, and while Crystal won, I thought Lee had the more bizarre performance. Randy said, "You don't have to be nervous, baby. You got this." Ellen said, "You didn't even get rattled when that guy got separated from his parade." She loved it. Kara said, "I could hear you on the radio," and Simon said it was like the bagpipe player turned up on the wrong show. So anyway, even though I thought Big Mike was my least favorite performance, I think Aaron, Andrew, and Tim will be in the bottom three. Going home, you pick a name out of a hat. It really doesn't matter which one. Though I hope Aaron stays. I'd rather see Andrew go home, but it's hard to say at this point. Crystal was my favorite, with the other two girls following closely behind her, which is a surprise because I haven't really liked them before. So anyway, tomorrow night is Jason Derulo, Rihanna, and David Archuleta, my favorite runner-up. So I'll see you folks tomorrow night.